So, podcast, Don Williams, Dave, American Dirtbaggers.
Cat, American Dirtbaggers.
John, American Dirtbaggers.
Don Williams.
Don Williams.
Got Don Williams.
So, Don Williams, what kind of, tell us about yourself. Were you in the military?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
U.S. Army, this will be my 6th year.
6 years, still active.
No longer active. That ended in 22. I am now part of, technically, the Oklahoma National Guard, but I'm currently augmenting the California National Guard.
Cool. So you started in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Enlisted.
Yeah. I enlisted technically here in California, and then they sent me to Oklahoma for my first duty station and everything. And then after my active duty contract, I went and enlisted with the Oklahoma Guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Oklahoma?
No, Colton, California, matter of fact.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It was quite a bit different.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it was a nice change of pace, though. I mean, over there, the people are a lot nicer. Traffic is non-existent. I mean, minus, like, the deer in the road, that sort of stuff. Armadillo crossing.
Big, small city, small town.
It was one of the bigger ones in Oklahoma, but still, I mean, small compared to anything we have here, pretty much.
We're at Oklahoma. Center, east, west, north, south?
I would say it's pretty south, because, I mean, we're only, I want to say, like 50 miles from Texas.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What was the name of the city?
Lawton, Oklahoma.
Lawton?
Yep. And
Nice.
then Fort Sill is right in Lawton, so just right there.
So you enlisted in the Army,
Yep.
and then where'd they send you? Where'd you go to boot camp?
I went to basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri,
Okay.
and that was in September of 2018.
Gotcha.
So you went from Colton
Yep.
to Missouri for basics,
Yep.
then to Oklahoma.
Yeah. So the way it works with the military, with the Army, so you obviously enlist wherever you go. Then you go to basic training. So mine was Fort Leonard Wood, and then you have your job training as well, called AIT, which is your advanced individual training. So that also took place in Oklahoma. And I had the potential to go anywhere after that. Well, not necessarily anywhere, because my job in the military is kind of niche. We only have a certain few amount of bases
What'd
we
you
can
do?
go to. I was field artillery, rocket and missile artillery.
Nice.
Yep. And so it just so happened that I did my training there, and sure enough, I got orders to pretty much go right down the street to my unit.
Cool.
Wow.
So it kind of worked down that way, because I didn't have to pick up and leave again. It was just, hey, kind of walk that way.
Right.
Yeah. So
Cool.
it worked out that way.
So how old were you, to go backwards a little bit, when you left Colton to...
I was 18.
18?
I had graduated high school. I want to say it was like May 30th,
Gotcha.
and then I enlisted September 17th.
Okay.
Yep.
After boot camp, where were you stationed for the most part?
For the most part, my entire enlistment was in Oklahoma, but during that time, my unit rotated to South Korea in 2019 to 2020. So that was interesting.
How was that?
It was a little bit of a culture shock.
I bet.
Yeah, but the good news is, being in Oklahoma, I was already really used to the humidity, especially coming from California. And being in South Korea, you're just in a peninsula. You're surrounded by water. So you step outside and you just start sweating. You're inside and it starts sweating. So it was a little bit of the same, but a lot of the different too.
Yeah.
But it was really neat. Yeah.
Nice.
A lot of nice folks out there.
How'd you like Oklahoma?
Matter of fact, I love Oklahoma for certain reasons. I mean, it's a lot nicer out there. Obviously, way cheaper than anything we could find in California. But my big reason for not liking it there, right before I left, matter of fact, it was last year around this time, I had to go to Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, with the Oklahoma National Guard, because for the 2 weeks we go. And the night before we all left, we had 3 tornadoes touch down within a mile of my house.
shit.
They were calling over the radio that we were going to have CD-sized hail coming down, and yeah, sure enough.
Like
Hell no.
CD. Like a
No way.
softball.
Yeah,
So if your car's out there, it's done.
yeah, you might. I mean, some cars just get. If you have an older model, you total out your car. Like it's just a wrap after that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
my car. I didn't bring I call it the golf ball now, because it has all these dimples on it. But yeah, I didn't bring that one. Thank God was in the garage, because that's a 22. I didn't want that one to get beat up. I have a 2012, so I was like, yeah, let that one kind of get beat up. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was a trip, because I had to go the next night, and I mean, the power was out for 8+ hours. At this point, I have I can't even tell you how old my son is. I mean, he's real young. He's still in the months. He hasn't even hit a year yet. So we have him hidden away in the laundry room, because that's the most centered room in the house. and my kitchen is right connected to my laundry room.
Wow.
Hail's flying through that,
shit.
broke out my kitchen window. So now I'm running to the garage. I'm tearing a tarp in half, drilling it into the wall so that it won't all get in. Yeah, it was not fun. That was stressful. And then better yet, having to turn around and leave.
Your wife and your baby.
Yeah, after that. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh,
So I'm in
man.
Arkansas doing all this military stuff and having to call back to Oklahoma and figure out who's going to fix my window and, if the power's back on, all that sort of stuff. So it wasn't great in that regard, no.
Wow. Yeah. Any plans of going back?
Not unless I have to.
Yeah.
Right now, the only way that I'd be going back, right now, especially with the California National Guard that I'm part of, that requires me to change my MOS for the military, and that would require me to go to training in Oklahoma again and then come back. Yeah.
So you graduated high school in Colton.
Yes, sir.
What high school? Colton High?
Yeah, Colton High.
No way.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Mom and Dad were good with you joining the military?
Dad wasn't around. My dad passed when I was 14.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But yeah, he passed in 2014, so he didn't really have a say in it. He knew that's where I was heading, and he was okay with it. But at that point, my mom, I had let her know, and she was cool with it because, it's better than me kind of hanging around up to no good.
Yeah.
Causing ruckus?
Yeah, but my grandma, she didn't like it at all because my grandma was primarily who raised me. So when I told her that, she kind of goes off what she sees on the news. She's older,
Sure.
so she sees all this terrible stuff happening, and I was like, that's not everybody. Like, there's select people that get into
Yeah.
that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So military, and then what year did you get out?
I got out of
Full-time.
active duty. That would be in February of 22.
22.
Yeah.
February 22, married already?
Yeah, I got married in, matter of fact, I did the very Army thing of getting married before you go out.
Oh,
Oh,
seriously?
you did?
Yeah, so I was already enlisted in 2018. I'd already been with my wife for a year, and then 2019 came around. We were going to go to Korea, and and the cool part about it is it wasn't really even a thought for me because a lot of I don't know if you guys are familiar with the military stereotypes, but like the private marrying the stripper, like anything like that.
I've heard stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. But no, I've known my wife since kindergarten.
So you screwed up and
Yeah.
didn't marry a stripper?
Wow.
No. I
Oh, what
broke
the hell?
the seal.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've known my wife since kindergarten. She's lived
Wow.
a mile away from me, pretty much not even a mile, within a mile. I could stand on my front door and yell, and she'd hear it.
So did you guys date during high school, or is that afterwards?
Yeah, we started dating in high school. I want to say it was either the tail end of junior year or the beginning of senior year. Yeah, so we'd already had that kind of friction.
We go to commercial. Hey, we got a commercial. Why'd you hit that?
Just because I was trying to get the.
Oh,
There you go.
I was trying to put that one on. Yeah.
What did your
What'd your wife?
think about you doing the military?
So while I was in high school, she was actually planning on joining the Navy. We were both
Oh,
in
wow.
the JROTC. So she was planning on going Navy. I was dead set on not doing Navy just because I did like everything I've seen growing up and looking up to was all either Marines or Army.
Right.
So I didn't want to be a seaman. I wanted to be a private. I didn't want to be a petty officer. I wanted to be a sergeant.
Right.
So, so she knew that was the route that I was going to take, and I told her, hey, if you want to come along, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And she's still here 5 years. Matter of
Nice.
fact, I just had my anniversary, the 20th. 5 years.
Congratulations.
Happy
Yeah, thank you.
anniversary.
Congratulations.
hey. So when you said you did the very Army thing and married her before you went, what does that mean? Like you wanted to lock it down?
So a lot of
You're gonna-
guys, a lot of young Army dudes, which at one point I was, for some reason, I don't know, whenever they're giving you all those shots in basic training,
Right.
they hit you with something where it's like right when you know you're going to go overseas, you get married. I don't know what it is. It's very common. It happened
Really?
a whole bunch. Yeah. All
Does
the
that
time.
do they think that keeps you like maintained while you're overseas?
I have no
like
clue.
I'm a married man, so
Yeah.
that kind of governs your behavior a
See,
little bit.
that's the funny part because a lot of these young dudes will go get married and then they'll go overseas and they're like, oh, I've only been married for 6 days.
It doesn't count.
Let's
It doesn't
party.
count.
Yeah, I'm 6,000 miles away. Let's party.
Right.
But there's a lot of that over there.
But you had your wife was your girlfriend for a
Yep.
couple of years before she became your wife.
Yeah, I want to say about a year and a half.
Nice.
And then we'd already
Yeah.
started talking about it. She was tired of living at home. Same reason for me. I picked up and left because I was like, there's nothing here for me. I think it was the the military kind of skipped a generation. My grandfather on my paternal side, he was a Navy reservist during World War II.
Nice.
I don't think he got to go do anything. And then my grandfather on my maternal side, he was actually a truck driver during World War II. I don't know anything about his campaigns that he was involved in, but I know that I believe he was either in the Pacific or Europe, wherever they'd be.
Nice.
Wow.
So now after active service, what'd you do? What was your next move?
Next move was, so my wife wanted a child, and I wanted one too, but I told her that if we're realistically going to look at that, 3 things have to line up. I want a house. I don't want to raise a child in an apartment. I need a job, and we need a plan after that. Because I could get something that'll pass off for a little while, but we need something that we could go forward with. And all 3 popped up.
Nice.
Bought a house off of somebody who was actually, he was a member of the military as well, but he was moving to California, funny enough. And his wife worked with my wife, so all that kind of mixed up. We bought the house, so I was like, okay, there's 1.
Nice.
I got a decent job for Oklahoma. That's 2. And then her and I sat down and figured out what the next 5 years would hopefully look like. And that's 3. And
Wow.
Dude, I'm impressed.
Nice.
How old's your son?
my son is 1 year and 8 months.
What's his name?
His name is David. Believe it or not.
Aw, hi, David.
I knew this was coming, so I had to retroactively. You would not believe the line at the courthouse to do name changes on
Right,
babies.
right. No, I appreciate that. No,
So you guys, I mean, I'm actually pretty impressed the way you guys planned that out. I mean, usually, when you're kids, you're a kid.
I mean, did you?
When you're that young, hey, I got a
How
good
old
car.
are
We
you?
can live off.
Don't ask him how old he is. Go ahead.
What?
Finish.
I'm just saying, like, when I was that age, I'm like, I got a good car. We can live off of love.
Yeah.
Like, there's no plan.
So did you hear? Do you know how? Did you hear how old he is? Because he said in 2014 when I was 14.
Yeah, no, I know.
So he'll be 24 this year.
Yeah.
Or are you
Yeah, yeah.
24 already?
I'm 24
He's
already.
24.
Yeah, that just happened this
Wow.
month, matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
Happy late birthday.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
happy-
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, very mature decisions.
So anniversary, birthdays, same month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Smart.
Yeah, it
Good
just
planning.
works out.
It's hard to
planning,
forget
yeah.
it that way.
Well, I mean, you get a lot of presents, so I was
Yeah.
like, why not? You gotta line it up. And Father's Day too. Don't forget
Oh, yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
birthday, Father's Day, anniversary. So
Dang,
I'm,
get it all in
I
one.
got them stacked up. That's cool.
Nice.
Okay, so the plan going forward now, career.
Yeah.
Let's talk about career.
Yeah, so for me coming out of the military, since I was rocket and missile artillery, like I told y'all, I had this, at the time, it was a really unfounded, decision on my part. I was like, okay, cool. I've had hands-on with all this equipment. I've shot a bunch of rockets. I've had hands-on all the munitions. I could take this and go to Lockheed or Raytheon or, Northrop Grumman. I could do any of those. And I didn't realize what a jump that is to make because I was a dumb kid. And
No, you're not.
Yeah, that's-
I was with that thought process.
We'll call it naive.
Yeah, naive. I'll take that. But yeah, so I figured that me doing this would allow me to jump into a very lucrative defense contract type
Sure.
business, and that's just not the case. It's not open to the enlisted side. That's typically for the warrant officers and the regular
Oh, man.
officers because I mean those guys, they already have college degrees. And they get way more in depth than us. Like I'm just the guy flipping the switch. I understand some of the minutia of it, but they are the guys putting the target packages together, making sure every T is crossed, every I is dotted. So I guess I gave myself more credit than was due. Right. And coming out, I was like, okay, that's what I'll do. And then matter of fact, there's a Raytheon office in town. And I got in contact with them thinking I was hot shit. And I was like, hey, I'm ready to go to work. Put me to work. And they're like, well, do you have this degree? No? Okay. What was your rank? Oh, you were enlisted? Oh, okay. Go ahead and go get a college degree in this, and that, and then talk to us. We'll see you in 6 years. I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, they shut that shit down. It was a 5-minute conversation. They squashed that immediately. There was no hey, this is what's going to happen.
That stinks. So that's, you guys know, I met Don, in case the audience wants to know. I met Don because he was a student at the school.
Yep.
And had him in a couple classes. What I found fascinating about him
And
is...
what was the program?
Diesel program, right?
Yes,
Diesel
sir.
only?
Yeah.
Yep.
Diesel only program. And what I found fascinating about him, what drew my attention, military always draws my attention. You guys know that. I'm big on military and stuff. Give him a chance to light a cigar. I'm big on military. But every time he'd walk up like this. I'd put my knuckles out to give him knuckles, and he'd put his hand out like this. And I'd shake his hand. I'm like, motherfucker. Because I normally don't shake hands, but he didn't insist but he came at me like this. So I was like, oh, I like this fucking kid, you know? I like this fucking kid. A little bit, that respect level just jumped another level, you know? Because they're up there anyways with their military, but then when he comes up every time and he does this, I'm like, fuck, okay, I'll shake your hand, you know? He'd give me knuckles afterwards if I wanted it, but it was always a handshake. I'm like, I like him. And then we started bullshitting a little bit, and he started sharing a little bit, and that's what I said, we got to get him down here on the podcast, because he's got some pretty neat stories for being such a young man.
I know, 24 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it surprises a lot of people, and a lot of the time, I mean, especially in the industry that we're in, younger guys coming in are typically looked at as like, hey, you don't know shit. You know, you're barely starting off. But I mean, for me, that I've kind of come to see as I've been more and more into the industry, I might not have been busy industry-wise. Like, it's not like I've been hands-on with anything since I was 18, but I've been busy. Like, I've been, you know, I mean, there hasn't been many times where I'm like, oh, I'm taking the summer off. Like, you know, I'm doing something.
Well, ROTC in high school, it sounds like you said your grandmother raised you. It sounded like she kind of had you pointed in the right direction. You know, I don't know if she used a stick or a broom, but, you know.
No, my grandmother, she's a saint. Because my father and my mom never really had the best living arrangements. Just real bad. Like, my dad sold drugs, my mom sold and used drugs. So no matter what, it was always, I mean, it made me who I am now. Right. As much as I could look back, and it's taken some reflection to come to that point, because at one point when I was in the military, I was like, okay, I don't want anything to do with my mom now. Because there's a lot of messed up stuff growing up, seeing all that, and then kind of coming to know that. And at one point, I said, hey, I'm no longer going to interest her in my life. There's nothing there for me. And slowly I've come to the fact of like, okay, I want my grandson, I want her grandson to know her. I'm not going to deprive my son of that. Right. Even though she's been bad to me, I'm going to give her the opportunity to be good to him. Smart. First time there's an inclination that it's not going great, hey, I gave you a chance. Cool. Yeah. There you go. And I mean, be fair, that hasn't really gone good either. But, you know, the fact of the matter was I threw the ball, she missed, and that's where it stands.
Well, whoever sets you up on your thought process, my opinion is you're doing the right thing. You really process stuff. You don't just make knee-jerk decisions. And you're such a young man, he's got that mature thought process.
And this is a compliment. You have an old soul, that kind of that old soul that usually people will develop into that. Yeah. Seems like you're kind of ahead of the game on that one.
I could thank my dad for that. Yeah. My mom and my dad were relatively older when they had me. Mm-hmm. My dad had me at 45, and my mom's only a couple years younger than him, so anywhere between 40 and like 45. Wow.
Nice.
So growing up with him, he had a lot of knowledge to pass on. So it was always something, you know, it was... I remember one thing he used to say is, if you're gonna do something, or if you say something, you're gonna do it. He had a lot of little stuff that over time I was, you know, as a kid, I'm just like, all right, whatever, Dad. But now I'm like, okay, if I said I'm gonna go take care of that, you know, motor that my boss wants me to do, I'm gonna do it.
Does it suck that you find yourself repeating shit they said?
Yes.
My mom used to always say, "Shit or get off the pot." And I remember my kids were in their early teens. I'm like, "Shit or get off the pot." Oh my god, I became my mom. Fuck.
There you go.
What the fuck?
I'm sure it'll resurface when my son's old enough where I can talk to him. But right now, it's just like I think it, and I know it's gonna come out later.
Yep, for sure.
Cool. So so some of the jobs that you had post-military.
So right off the bat, with the military, you get a couple different types of leave. Well, that's false. But regardless, you get leave built up. And with COVID hitting, they actually took away the barrier for how much leave you could have at any one point. Because it used to cap off and you'd have use or lose. So if you got to, I think it was 45 days, if you started going over that, it was like, hey, either you're going to sell this leave off and get the payment for that, or you could take some leave and, you know, not have to, you could go enjoy your time. So I had, at the end of it, I want to say I had 50 days of leave built up.
Nice.
Yeah, so instead of my terminal leave date was February 3rd of 22, I was out December 15th. So that was my technical date of leaving.
On leave until you're...
Yeah, so I'm getting paid the whole way up. Nice. So I got out December 15th, the morning of that, and I had a job the 20th.
Oh, nice.
Because I was already reaching out to people. I was already trying to get my foot in somewhere. The first job, not too glamorous. I was actually stocking vending machines it's a smaller company. It's called Imperial.
In Oklahoma?
Yeah, in Oklahoma. Okay. But I think they're also in Texas and a couple other states. They started off as a coffee company and then worked their way into like vending machines.
Yeah.
I mean, it was neat because you got to really go to wherever they have vending machines. So we went to these big Halliburton facilities where they're doing the oil drills, and you could see those guys. You could see all the pieces moving, people welding, and at that point, I was like, okay, this is really neat. But there wasn't any growth there. There was nothing that I wanted there. It was just me having something to get out with.
So stocking vending machines is kind of a weird question, but did you maintain the inventory? Like, did you walk into your living room to boxes of chips and candy? How did that go?
You'd be surprised. So I never did, but there was a couple cats there because whenever something goes out of date or you're over on inventory, you're supposed to correct that back down, and then that kind of stuff ends up in a gray area where it's like, okay, we could either take it back to the storage facility and store it, or it goes missing. And I'll tell you, there was a lot of fat guys working there. There's a lot of fat guys working there.
I would hate stocking vending machines.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. Yeah. But yeah, the guys that were there were long timers. They were dudes that have been working there for a decade plus. Yeah. And it just wasn't my thing.
Do you know what minimum wage was in Oklahoma at the time?
It's not great.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to say they line up with the federal minimum wage, which is $7.25.
$7.25.
Wow.
But most places, like some places, will offer you that with the incentive of like, oh, hey, you're going to get tips. You know what I mean? They kind of supplement.
Sure.
But for the most part, you rarely see that go out on like Indeed or any of these sort of job posting sites, because who's going to apply to $7.25 an hour in 2022?
So how long did you do the vending machine?
I did that. It had to be probably like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, something like that. Yeah, because then after that, I was just every day pretty much after I got off work.
Did you want a beer or water?
I have my water right here.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, though. But after doing that for a little while, because matter of fact, I was working that job when I got told that my wife was pregnant with my son. And I was like, oh, like now I really need to kick it into gear, because I was kind of coasting for a little bit. I was like, okay, I got a job, I'm still on leave, I'm getting double paid, I have a house, like we're okay right now. And then as soon as I heard kid, because at that point we had made the decision, hey, we want a child, so I knew it was coming sometime, but I didn't know exactly when.
Don't wash your underwear together. That's how it happens.
Oh, is
To
it?
the contrary belief, washing your underwear in the same washing machine.
That's how that works?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, this is I never got that taught. Shit.
So did the company?
There you go. There you go.
Did the company you work for, did they offer benefits, anything like that, or did you start thinking,
Or he's got military benefits no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
I forget.
Well, so that depends, because at that time I don't think my guardship had kicked in yet, because it's really weird going into the National Guard, because I enlisted, so put it like this, I got out of active duty February 3rd, and I was a guardsman February 4th. Now, like there was a 24-hour break of contract, and then I was right back in. Yeah. And it's really weird, because sometimes these units, they don't get your information for months. So my unit, I didn't even get hit up by my unit. I went and found them. I had to go find them. I called my battalion, and I was like, hey, do you have anything for a Don Williams? And they're like, no, you're not in the docket. And I was like, can I come? Because I still had my common access card to get on post, and I had all my credentials still. And I was like, is there any way I could come in? Because at this point I'm getting worried, because there was a bonus attached to me re-enlisting, and I didn't want some technicality taking me out of that. Yeah. So I had to go find them, and that's when my benefits started kicking back in. Because then for guard members, I want to say it's also for reservists, you could do healthcare through the National Guard, and it's significantly cheaper than any sort of private healthcare. Like for me right now, I could have 20 kids, and my rate stays at like $250.
Dollars?
Yeah.
Man. It's good.
It's nice.
But see, that's smart decisions as a young man.
Yeah.
So are you planning on doing 20?
It's in the realm of possibilities.
Right.
Not to get too political on you.
No.
The only thing
you
that's
as political as you want.
The only thing holding me back right now, because I love the Army. I mean, I've grown up a lot through the Army, and it just sucks to see what we're doing now when it comes to hostilities in Ukraine, supporting Israel, going to war with China potentially.
Right.
I don't agree with any of it.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any business being the world's police.
It's not our job.
Right.
No,
100%
it's
agree.
not. And it sucks that we've let politicians and playmakers put us in that position, because now, I mean, their sons and daughters aren't dying. I don't plan on leaving my son I don't plan on being a name on a wall somewhere where it's like, oh, the first Ukrainian offensive. Like, I don't plan on being that guy.
Fuck yeah, good.
So as much as I would like to stay in, I have, and then plus with COVID shots, that was something I actually got kicked out of the National Guard for 7 months.
Did you really?
Yes,
So they took you back in.
Yeah,
because you refused to take it.
Yes,
oh,
sir.
really?
Wow.
Yeah, because I enlisted in the Oklahoma National Guard because I was told that the general at the time presiding over the National Guard had said, hey, we're not going to do any of that nonsense. They quickly replaced him, got him out with someone who was with the agenda. So pretty much as soon as I got my boots and everything and I was there, it was like, hey, are you going to get the shot? And sure enough, I said, hey, that's not something I'm going to do. And yeah, so I got out of so technically they'd never processed me out. I was just kind of in the guard, but not doing anything. I wasn't getting paid, but I also wasn't showing up.
Cut on leave or...
Yeah, no, it wasn't even leave because as a guardsman, you're basically a civilian. You're a weekend warrior.
Right.
You show up 1 week in a month and 2 weeks in the summer. And if you
But your paycheck stopped.
Yeah, paycheck stopped because they don't give me any work.
Right.
So what'd you do for work then?
Yeah, so that was always just a supplement. That was always just healthcare and like an extra $250 a month. So after I got out of stock and vending machines, I went to this company. It's a relatively large company called Ecolab. They do all the pest control. They do a bunch of stuff, but pest control is a small part of it. So I got linked up with them, applied, they accepted me. And from there, I worked for them for, I want to say, over a year. And
What'd you do for them?
I was a pest control.
Yeah,
I was a service specialist is the title.
Residence, corporate?
No, thank God it was
commercial?
residential. Yeah, it was commercial. So I'm doing like Taco Bells, hospitals, KFCs. That
Plenty
sort
of roaches there.
You'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised.
Hey, I like KFC.
No, yeah. Trust me, I worked in the restaurant business when I was young. When I was just younger than you actually. So trust me, I know.
Yeah.
You can't eliminate it. You can only control it.
I worked fast food for about 6 hours.
6 hours.
Oh yeah, you told us about that.
Long enough to get your free fries and
No,
I'm out.
pizza.
Where was that
pizza.
at?
It was a pizza place.
Weren't you supposed to be the delivery driver and they were
Yeah.
trying to hoist you in?
Yeah.
I remember you
It
telling us
didn't
about
last.
that.
Yeah, it didn't last. Yeah.
That's fantastic though.
Yeah, no, we cause ruckus. You know.
Yeah. We'll start doing that in a second here. But slowly but surely, so with the, I'll talk a little bit more about my position with Ecolab to kind of transition to what
Sure,
I did afterwards.
sure.
With that position, so there was like a flat rate, I want to say it was like $13-14 an hour.
Oh, nice.
And then you get sales on top of that. So because sometimes, you go into a customer's site and our whole goal is to eliminate and control pests. So whether that be, mice, rodents, roaches, bed bugs, all
Spiders.
sorts of stuff. I've only had one spider job, and that was just because the woman who was doing it, she was like, I don't want anything to do with these. Just come over here. I'll give you $400. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Yeah.
Did you ever go into a place that was like infested?
Yes, multiple.
shit.
Yeah, there was. I'm not going to say the name, obviously, but it was in Lawton. It was I would say a fairly popular, sit down eat restaurant.
Oh shit.
That place had mice everywhere. It was put it like this: I brought a ladder one day because they had the drop ceilings. So I picked up the ceiling tile, moved it, shined my flashlight up there, and you just see eyes. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a restaurant that is in Oklahoma and in California?
Yes.
Oh, hell
I would say
no.
it's nationwide.
Does it start with a D and end
What
with a
letter?
Y?
No.
What does it
No.
start
No.
with? What is the letter?
I'll say it starts with an A. Oh. And I
No
won't confirm
way.
or
Is it-
deny anything.
4 letters?
Is it
No.
I can't think of anything.
Arby's.
No. No, it was a sit down. Like, it wasn't fast food.
Applebee's.
Pear Hornet?
Applebee's.
I'm not going to say yes.
Applebee's. Oh my
say
God.
yes.
Applebee's.
Yeah, well, Pear Hornet was the code name for Applebee's.
I like the way he's thinking.
Pear Hornet, Applebee's. Got it.
Yeah. I like the way
Sorry,
he's
I
thinking.
need-
Right?
Yeah.
That was good.
That was good.
I need another drink. I'm sorry. I
There
didn't
you
catch
go.
that.
Yeah, I think a couple of shots and I'll be on the same level as you. I'll just start speaking in code while I
Right.
try to figure it out after this.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
That's wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that one was real bad, and it was and most of it comes from just negligence, leaving
Yeah.
the back door open,
Oh, yeah.
not cleaning up the the drains, just little
Sure.
stuff, and it's a bummer because my
Yeah.
whole goal is to make sure they're problem free,
Right.
but when you can't even take care of yourself, I can't come in and close the door for you every hour. You know what I mean? Because with that route, I had like a 200-mile radius of towns that I would hit because it was rural Oklahoma. But funny story about that establishment, though. There was a lady I had.
Pear Hornet?
Yeah, Pear Hornet, matter of fact. There was a lady that came in with a party of people. I want to say it was about 4 or 5 people. And they were ordering, more of the, like they wanted ribeye or like prime rib,
Sure.
Something like the nicer stuff on the menu. And right at the end, after everyone, forks are on the plates, everyone's wrapping up, a cockroach appears.
Oh, hell.
Right?
I'd throw it up.
Yeah. Well, so the entire tab is taken care of because they're like, hey, don't make a big scene.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you. We'll take care of this. So I get called out, and I'm there after all the patrons are gone. So I'm out there looking around, and this happens like 3 or 4 more times in like 2 week increments.
Wow.
And eventually they catch her on camera. This lady's bringing a dead cockroach in her purse.
Shut up.
I swear.
And she's going back to the same place?
Yeah.
Oh, this bitch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they caught her on camera. She pulls out this like little Ziploc bag, and you can see her just do one of those.
Nice.
Yeah.
So she's doing it for free food.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Go there, take the family out to eat, and do that.
Drop a cockroach, get
Yeah.
free food.
Yeah, so I was
Oh,
wasting my
no.
time for like 2 months.
And they're wasting their money to bring you out.
Damn.
No, it was just my time because if our guarantee with Ecolab is if you get a roach or a rodent sighting, we come out for free to take care of it.
Oh.
So at that point, I mean, this lady cost me so much money because I could have been up in
Damn.
Oklahoma City or
Right.
any number of places, and I have
Wow.
to stay in Lawton that night just to come see what's up. And I'm scratching my head because I've already hit the outside, I've already sold that. I've already sold door sweeps. I'm taking care of everything I could think of. And at this point, I'm just like, I don't know where this is at. Okay.
So I was in Sacramento at a very popular restaurant chain.
Oh,
What's left?
yeah. I
Kind of
remember.
high end. I won't say kind of high end, but we're sitting there, and it was a big group of us.
He called us when this happened.
Yeah, and
Really?
and the booth next to us, this rat comes out. The people are screaming and stuff, and we see this rat bolting down the way, and you could tell where the rat was because the people were screaming and jumping up on the, and you could see all the way down the road, and then it would come back. I think the booth behind us was his home base because it kept coming back to that. So anyway, they finally corralled it out or whatever they did,
Wow.
and the cool thing about that was it didn't really bother us. It was kind of entertaining actually. Watching the whole thing, but they comped all of our drinks and all of our food, so that was
got
and
lucky.
gave us coupons for a bunch of
There you go.
food in the future. And there was another. I was actually in Rancho Cucamonga at a Mexican restaurant, smaller chain, eating and it was a place I'd go. I was working at the school that you teach. Do we say the name?
UTI. We can say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I was teaching an automotive class,
Okay.
and we'd go to this little Mexican place for lunch, and I get a carne asada burrito, and I put it down, and when the instructors go, "Oh, check that out," and this dead roach came out of the burrito. And I'm like, holy shit. So anyway, I take it up there, and I'm telling the lady, look what just fell out of my burrito. So she goes back and yelling at the cooks, comes back, she goes, I don't know if you ever eat here, but she had a stack of, not coupons, but like free food coupons, like free tacos,
Vouchers,
free, yeah, big vouchers, yeah. A stack of them. She goes, I don't know if you ever come back here, but you can have these if you will. I go, I don't care about the roaches, I just don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Give me those things.
And that's the thing. I've learned that
Yeah.
through that business because it's like a lot of these places. I would look at the reviews on Yelp or just Google. Fantastic reviews, like
Right.
4.5, 5.0, and thousands of them. And then you go there at night, and it is abysmal. The place is dirty. Like I'd walk in, and my whole goal was not to turn on the light right away because you want to. I mean, roaches when you turn on the light, they scatter. So I
Right.
walk through with a flashlight, and you see. Just taking off, and then when you turn on the light, you see a ton of movement. And I was like, "Oh, if only like one person knew about this." Because at that point, I mean, it's my responsibility to not get that out because
Right.
we're the people trying to keep them out of the health department's ear.
Yeah.
So it's like as much as I wanted to blow the horn and be like, this place is terrible, never eat here. It's my whole goal via the company to just keep them out of that realm.
Wow.
But like I said, it's hard to do stuff for people who aren't willing to do stuff for themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's hard though as a I was a cook for when I was a kid, when I was in high school, and we do a deep cleaning every Friday night or Saturday. We do a deep cleaning. You can only control it. You can't eliminate it.
Yeah.
The food's there. Hard
Right.
to control. Hard to eliminate.
Eventually, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just about making sure
It's like coyotes coming into the neighborhood, right? They know
Yeah.
the little cats and dogs are there.
Yeah.
They're coming down. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they know Mr. Fuzzy's outside at 3 a.m. They gotta start
Fuzzy.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do I all this effort in chasing this bird when I could
Oh, God.
go down and get
The
that
bird?
kitty cat? Yeah.
Yeah, I bet he can't run like that, like that bird, right?
Right.
There you go. But eventually, that place, because the main goal is you could make decent money off of sales. Like we had
Right.
people that were topping out over 100,000 because they were
Wow.
just selling crazy jobs. And for me, I was putting jobs in, but it came to my attention that I was looked at as like the guy that just handles the rural stuff. I wasn't the guy handling big stuff. Anything that I put in wasn't getting the same attention as people in like Oklahoma City or Tulsa. So that was really limiting my earning capability, which really sucked because I mean my whole goal as a family man now is to make sure I could make enough.
How old
money.
were you at this time?
At this time, I am 22.
Wow.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my whole goal at that point is just to make a bunch of money so that when the baby hits, I'm there with
Right.
enough resources. And it just wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. So throughout that time, I'm looking at different opportunities. Nothing's really coming my way that's interesting or more lucrative for that matter. So a year passes. My son's already born. Thank God that actually happened while I was working for that company because they gave me paternal leave. I
Oh,
was
nice.
gone for like a month and a half, 2
Nice.
months, which was
Nice.
really nice,
Yeah.
helping
Yeah.
out the wife and seeing the son. But there's always one thing I saw on Indeed, and it's this, I'll give you the company's name. It's Geo Group. It's a very big group, and they manage private prisons, immigrant
wow.
camps. Like they have stuff here in California for immigrant camps,
Oh, wow.
Immigrant camps being
like places where
illegal
immigrant-
aliens?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. They have
okay.
stuff. I want to say even in Africa. Like they're
Oh,
a
wow.
global
Oh,
company.
wow.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah. And I always saw it, but I never put too much merit into it because it was always there. You know, when someone doesn't want it, I'm also going to look at it that way. But at that point, it was paying $23 an hour
In
And-
Oklahoma.
Yeah, in Oklahoma.
And minimum wage
Yeah,
is
yeah.
$7.25.
$7.25.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
So
a
it's-
lot of
it's
fucking
a
money.
little
yeah.
bit
So are you
more
in
than
a?
Yeah.
So what's your living situation here in Oklahoma?
Living situation at that point, I had my own house. I was paying a mortgage on, so that was going well. $900 mortgage, by
Wow.
the way.
What?
Yeah,
Nice.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's
$900
Wow.
mortgage,
Okay.
by the way. That's not happening today, sadly. I should never
No.
sold that motherfucker. But I have my own truck. My wife has her car. It's going pretty smoothly, but at that point, the reason I felt I had to make that jump was because slowly but surely, with all of our expenses, whether it be bills or whatever, every month I would have an income, and then at the end of the month, there'd be a little bit out of savings. So I knew that I was taking off of that rock pile.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I knew
yeah.
it wasn't infinite.
Yeah,
I knew
yeah.
that,
The rock
I
pile
couldn't
would go
replenish-
away.
Yeah, and I knew that once that happened, I was really screwed. But if I could do something with that pile before we got to that point, I could, or either that or I could start replenishing the pile,
Sure.
Yeah.
which eventually became the plan. So I decided to quit that job and move into being a correctional officer
Wow.
in Lawton for a private prison. And
What
So
did
is
your
it-
wife think about that?
she was hesitant for sure
Yeah.
because I mean I don't know how you are, but my wife loves all these prison shows.
I do too.
Yeah, so she sees all this crazy stuff. I mean, movies, what I mean,
Yeah, I love
anything
it.
you could think of.
Yeah.
And she just didn't want that for me. And I was
Yeah.
like, sweetheart, I was just in the army. I
Yeah,
could have got blown
yeah.
up or killed. Like,
Yeah.
this is a little bit more stateside. Little did I know it was going to end up being a lot more dangerous than I ever thought it could be.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's a private prison.
Private prison.
Men or women?
Men strictly.
Men
Okay.
strictly.
Yep.
Not federal, state.
So I'm not exactly sure. I know for a fact it's not federal.
Okay.
The Department of Corrections still oversees it, but it's private. So
Okay.
there's no one there. So the actual training facility for federal and state correction guards it's in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay.
No one there has that. This is all people that say, "Hey, I'm working at McDonald's. I'm done doing that. I want to do this for that."
Ah.
And we had people that were coming in that were homeless. They were homeless
Wow.
and they were showing up to class.
So what's the
What?
training like?
Yeah.
Like you get the job, then
abysmal.
what?
Abysmal.
Abysmal.
It's 2 weeks of training, 1 week in class, 1 week on job.
Like on job in the prison?
Yes.
Yeah. How is the training though? What do you do like in the
It's all a lot of like the first week while you're in class. Some of the most major stuff they go over, like obviously and they burn a lot of the time. Like we watched the Attica movie, if you know what that is, like that really old fashioned movie. I think it has Samuel Jackson in it.
Oh my gosh.
We watched that for whatever reason.
Oh, here, watch these movies.
Yeah, this is what you're gonna deal with.
Yeah, I have no clue why. Even at the time, I was like, this is ridiculous. But we go over some techniques when it comes to takedowns. You have to get pepper sprayed.
You do?
Yeah, well, it's actually
Was that maximum security, minimum?
Medium.
Medium.
Medium
Okay.
security,
Yeah.
so you got some fucked up people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and contrary to what I believed prior, because I figured minimum security, those guys are all right. Medium
Yeah.
security, those guys are all right, but they're not as all right as the minimum security guys. And then everything else above that was completely fucked. Medium security is absolutely dog shit. It is super fucked.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean,
Wow.
you have murderers in there. There's rapists. There's like really top level gang leaders in there. Everything that you would consider to be in a maximum security or a high security, they're
there?
in medium.
Is it because they
Wow.
weren't charged with the crime that put them in maximum?
Either that or they came in on charges that were less, so they couldn't get put into maximum. And then
Gotcha.
slowly over time, they, out of clout, they got to those positions. And yeah, I saw a lot of that.
So what was that like?
It
Tell me about your first day on the job, not the training part, but your first real
Day in
First
prison.
day.
Not the
Were you,
training.
were you nervous though?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I
I
mean,
bet.
it's one of these things
Did you
where
wear a
like
stab vest?
no.
What the fuck?
And the thing was, is
Fontana High makes you wear a
I
stab
thought
vest when you
had
go to visit.
wear
No.
something like that.
No, and it's a really funny thing because the PPE there, with it being private, it is such dog shit. Like looking
PPE is
back,
personal protection equipment.
yes,
So just so you know.
yeah. So anything that like for example, we had these groups. I forget what it's called now, but it's essentially SWAT, but for corrections. And they come in all geared up. They have shoulder pads on. They have the helmet
Wow,
on.
yeah.
They come in with batons, all sorts of
Right.
spray. They have a grenade launcher. They come with
the-
lethal too. They
Oh,
come with a
shit.
shotgun and a pistol just in case.
Oh wow.
Wow.
But yeah, because I mean, if someone's getting taken hostage, you have to be
Yeah.
able to make that choice and say, "We don't want you playing anymore. We're getting our guy back."
Right.
And yeah, just like the stab vest was really only for if you were working a segregated unit or a gang unit,
Oh,
and even
okay.
then, you would rarely see people using them.
What the fuck?
Yep.
I went to Fontana High in an event,
Wow.
and they asked me when I went to the event, "Do you want to wear a stab vest?" I'm like, "Do I want to wear one?"
Are you
And they're like,
serious?
Well, yeah, Fontana High. The security guards on Fontana High School wear stab vests.
That's crazy.
And Liz, my oldest daughter, goes in there to these presentations, and they offered her a stab vest. I'm like, what the?
I wonder what the story behind that decision is.
Yeah.
Someone got stabbed.
Yeah, but just tripped in a high school. of all
Wow.
High school.
places.
So you're in a
Yeah.
prison,
Yeah.
Yep.
no stab vest.
So it's
Are you on the line with prisoners?
Yes. Yeah, so I don't know how knowledgeable you guys are about like prison faculties and how it's all set up, so I'll just kind of lay it out.
Yeah, lay it out for
There's
us.
different houses. Those different houses house different people by their offenses. So for us, house 1 and 2 was the gang houses. 3 and 4 was just general population, kind of a mishmash. 5 and 6 we called that Candyland because that's all of our sexual offenders,
Oh,
and they tend to be more. They're
Yeah.
they're a little
Yeah.
they're a little out there sometimes.
Yeah.
And then 7 was for our protective custody people. They were all on PC, so you see a lot of veterans in there. Matter of fact, some of the people who had worked my job prior were in there. Yeah. And then 8, that was also, it felt like a gang unit when you worked it, but it was supposed to be a gen pop, but a lot of gang influencers were in there, and it suddenly, you see people having colors, and you see
Wow.
people talking a certain way. You start seeing tattoos pop up, and you're like, okay, this isn't good. But yeah, they
Wow.
treated it like a gen pop unit, even though it was pretty much gang by the time
Yeah.
I'd got to it.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the first day, I want to say I went to House 5, part of Candyland. So they're a lot of, they're talkers. They're not really going to do too much. I want to say my first day went pretty okay. I want to say like you get some pushback because they know you're a new face.
Yeah.
They're trying to test your gangster, as they say. And
Is that what they say? Test your gangster?
yeah, I had one guy when I worked seg, like I want to say my next day, pretty much. And
Your second day you worked segregation.
yeah, which you're only supposed to do that after being there for a couple years, and you're supposed to have special training for that. But they said, hey, get up in there, because we had people call off.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
You can't call out sick.
No. Oh well, yeah, you can. You want that?
He's like, I did.
I had a lot of folks calling off sick. I mean, there was times it was a 12-hour shift, but I mean, I'd be there. It was 6 to 6, but I'd be there 6 to 10, 6 to 12. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Just because
Wow.
people didn't want to show up, and you can't just leave these guys to their own, you know what I mean?
Accord, yeah.
Did you ever get hurt?
Well, wait. Let him get there.
I'll get there.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah. Good question, but yeah.
That is a good question. But yeah, the first day went pretty okay. Like I had some folks trying to, you know, press up and see what was up, and I had to put that down pretty quick because you don't want to come off as too much of an asshole.
Yeah.
Right.
But you also don't want to come off as
Pussy.
Yeah.
Yeah, pussy,
Sorry.
or that I don't give a fuck about you. Because the
Right.
thing is like my whole, at least the mission statement of the prison is to make sure people don't reoffend. We want you to serve the time that you were sentenced, and we do not want you to come back.
Plus, you have to
Right.
survive there, right?
Yes.
I mean, you
Yeah.
have to. It's
Yeah.
almost like
What'd you have for weapons?
For weapons, every morning I would get a radio, which, believe it or not, I'd classify as a weapon behind bars because that allows me to get other people aware of my situation.
Okay.
Right.
And a can of, I forget exactly what it's called. It's basically pepper spray.
Like OC spray?
OC, there you
Okay,
go.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
OC spray. So it's sometimes, depending upon your house, you would get a bigger can or a smaller can.
Wow.
The fuck?
Yeah, so like for
Wow.
example, if you're working SEG, you're supposed to get these Mark 9s, which is basically bear mace. Yeah, so you're supposed to get those, especially if you're in the gang units too, you get bear mace. But if you're in Candyland or like Gin Pop, you're just gonna get like one of the standard like tall boy cans. It's like 4 ounces. Yeah, which I mean, it's not really good for much because as soon as you open up with that, like one burst is gonna take up most of your supply.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we found that out on multiple occasions.
You had to spray people.
Wow.
Have you ever sprayed anybody?
Yes. Yeah. I've had
And
to
does
spray a
it
couple folks.
drop them?
It drops you
Or
and
slows them down?
Really?
Yeah, it drops you and them.
Yeah, because you
It
get
sucks.
That's
you get
why they-
overspray, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why you had to experience that right before.
Yep. Yeah, because and it was actually really helpful me being in the military because I had to deal with OC gas or CS gas. So we had to do the
Gotcha.
gas chamber where you
Right.
go in with
Oh.
your pro mask on and you have to take it off and then that hits you. So you have to see how you react and make sure you're okay because you know going in it's gonna suck really bad, but you know you survive. So it's
Right.
like okay, let's just deal with 20 minutes of sucking and then we'll come right back out.
Right.
But yeah, so there was a couple moments where I had to empty a can, and then people are coming up to the door, and I'm like, give me yours, give me that, guys. Like let's keep going.
How long were you there before you had to release the first time?
I want to say it was towards the end. Matter of fact, I want to say I was there for about 3 months, and then that's when my time there kind of started kicking up a little bit because the first couple of months were really,
What changed?
I mean, people.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
So did you get along with a lot of those inmates?
So it's really hard to establish rapport with people.
Yeah.
Cause the way I would have liked it to happen was like, hey, Williams, you're assigned to this house. That is
Yeah.
your house. You report there every day. Because then I could establish a
You start
relationship.
building a
Yeah.
relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They know who I am. They know what I
Right.
play at. I'm not a fucking super cop, but I'm not also a pushover.
Yeah.
Like this is how my house is gonna run. But what they did, which really pissed me off, is they would constantly rotate you. So one day I'd be on house 5, one day I'd be on house 6, 7. I'd be in SEG for a week, and then they'd send me over to house 1.
Wow.
So you never had that chance. So anytime someone was seeing you, it was after, weeks or
Right,
days.
right,
You know,
right.
so it was real hard to establish that rapport that you wanted to establish.
So if John here was a guard
Yep.
and he pissed off House 5, and then you're in 5 next week, they're pissed off at him, but you're wearing
No.
uniform.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not you necessarily; it's the shirt they're mad at, or uniform they're mad at.
Yep.
Got you. All right.
But that's the thing, because that could get you hurt.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is they don't have any way of getting to John, but they have a way of getting to Don. So when I'm out there walking, because I've had it happen multiple times where my last day would be on a Friday. By the grace of God, I would get Saturday and Sunday off, and then I'd come back on Monday, and I'd be getting bitched out about shit that happened on Friday.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I wasn't even here the last 2 days,
Right,
dude. Like, I don't know what's going on. And it doesn't matter to them because they want to serve their personal interest.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I could definitely say that going in there, I had a really naive point of view. My goal was to be genuine and actually try to help these guys, which I would want to say, not to suck my own dick per se, but that's kind of the way you'd want someone to walk into that position. You want
Right.
to help those people. If I could do something, if they have it coming, I want to give it to them. But these people, some of them will take crazy advantage of you. And thank God I never had that happen. Like, I've had it offered a bunch, like, because, the main way, drugs and knives and
What was the
stuff.
most tempting offer?
Most tempting?
Most
I
tempting.
was,
Good one.
I was working segregation. I can't remember this guy's name, but he was a, should I say the gang name?
It's up to you.
He was a Crip. And he was pretty okay, but he
Yeah.
would always try to chat my ear off. And one day he was like, hey, CO, what's your cash app? And I was like, well,
hell
why?
no.
Why? What do you want? And he was like, no, I want to give you something for being cool. And I was like what? And he said, $10,000 for being cool.
Wow, you're pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, so that's why I have that new car now. No, but and that's the way they hook you.
Yeah.
Because the second you receive money from an inmate, you could get charged for that.
Oh yeah.
And that's the way they do it. They get some dumb guy that's willing to take it, and they say, "Hey, we already have you on the ball. You've already been paid. Here's what I need now. You're going to go pick it up from this guy. You're going to bring it in." And then from there, you've already been an accomplice to this operation. They have you for as long as they want you for. And eventually they'll turn you out. Eventually they'll say, hey, this, someone will come up to the prison or call the cops. And next thing you know, you're in there with them.
Wow. So I had an employee that worked for me that did a year in Colorado. And I love telling this story because I won't give his name because he's passed away, bless his soul, but he had a broken tooth. And I asked him, I said, what happened to your tooth? And he goes, I don't want to tell you. So I harassed him for about a week. I'm like, what happened to your tooth? I don't want to tell you. What happened to your tooth? I don't want to tell you. So he finally told me, he's like, I was in prison. He spent a year in prison, but it was one of those prisons where every day he would go out and clean the roads.
Okay.
So it was a real, like a light duty prison. And when he'd go out there twice a week, his wife would come up and bring him lunch, and they'd fool around in the back seat. And so it wasn't that bad. Well, he'd done that for about 3 weeks. And he came back because I came back one night. I was in the showers, and these 3 guys walked up on me and said, hey, tomorrow a dude's going to hand you a phone. You're going to fucking shelf it, and you're going to bring it in. And he said, no.
Yeah.
I said, and? He goes, well, when I woke up, my tooth was broken, and they had a knife at my throat. I said, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
That's crazy.
Yeah, they just, either you bring it in or we're going to kill you right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'll bring it in. I have to shelf a phone. Fuck. And back then, phones were big.
Ouch.
Think about it.
And I'm pretty sure I know what shelf means.
Shelf means you put it up your anus cavity.
Prison
and push
pocket.
Prison
You're
pocket.
Yeah, prison pocket. Yeah.
Prison pocket.
Tiny hole.
I wanted to give some people some ASMR.
Yeah, prison pocket. Yeah. I was like,
That's a
what?
good one.
He called shelving it, but it's
Yeah.
also known as a prison
I've heard
pocket.
that term too, but we
Yeah.
use prison pocket.
What the
That's
fuck, So you had a
crazy.
choice, die or
Dude.
do it, I mean,
Yeah.
stick a phone up your butt
I'll tell you
or
what,
die.
that's come a long way now though, because
Phones got smaller?
They're coming back with bigger ones now.
yeah, but
It's when they got rid of the antennas.
but the thing is, you could buy these little teeny tiny phones that actually require for you to hear anything an earbud, and they're like this big
Yep.
off of Amazon for
Yep.
$30.
Yep.
Wow.
How much do you think one of those goes behind bars?
Yeah.
Probably
How much?
a shit ton.
Yeah.
So if you're paying $30, let's say 50 altogether, shipping and
Okay.
handling,
Right.
$3,000 in prison. Yep.
Where do we get those? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, let's
Off the air. I'll let
off
you know.
the air. Let's talk about
Yeah,
a not so legit business.
That's scary shit.
Yeah, that is.
So you got offered 10 grand. You obviously said no.
Yeah, I told the guy that that's not in the cards.
Yeah.
And he was always persistent because him and I, my thing is, as you know, I'm pretty jokey. I don't
Yeah.
like to take myself too seriously, even
Sure.
in that situation. Because
Right.
my thing is, if I'm walking around like I'm fucking Superman or something, these guys are gonna be like, all right, fuck you. I'm gonna get you.
We're
Yeah.
sure kryptonite, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So my thing was, if someone was talking to me and they just had some stupid shit to say, I'd be like, whatever, dude. But yeah, so I mean, he would keep coming back to it because I think he thought I had some interest in it, but that was never even an option for me.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
That's scary.
Yep. And I'm sure there's a lot of people buckle under that. 10 grand is a lot of money.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of when I said there was a guy that got hired when he was homeless.
Right.
So this guy,
Huh?
right? He was homeless. Then he gets hired on because they say, hey, he sounds like he has good work ethic. He seems like a trustworthy guy. He's there for 4 months, and suddenly he has a brand new car,
Oh,
and he's
shit.
wearing nice shoes,
Oh,
and
damn.
he's got the newest phone. And the question becomes, where the fuck are you getting this money? Because
Right.
we're not paying you like
23
that.
bucks an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not paying you like that, and you're not getting enough overtime to compensate. So what's up? So they started looking into it, and yeah, he was
Oh,
bringing shit into the prison.
shit.
Yeah,
Dang.
yeah.
That's
But
crazy.
So-
how do they just get someone off the street like that?
You
Do
just apply.
you just
It's a
apply?
Yeah,
private-
you just apply.
Oh,
Private
and it's
prison.
a private.
Yeah,
okay.
prisons,
there's
yeah.
the only standard is to basically not be a felon or have a gang jacket.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
And that's why. And even
That's
with that,
crazy.
dudes that were in my class for training were gang members. They had gang tattoos.
Wow.
Yeah, and
But they'd never been charged.
exactly. So there was nothing to prove. And I would see these guys downrange, and I was like, oh, like
So
this is crazy.
So does that work in their favor or against them while they're in there?
Depends on where they're posted. Because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it's working in their favor, they're with their people.
Yep.
Like
Right.
if you're in the gang unit and you're a blood and you're with the Bloods, you're having a good time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that probably puts a lot of pressure on them too because
Yep.
they're going to expect.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, most of the time, the whole purpose for coming into that job as a gang member is to help the
Support,
system.
yeah.
Help
Right.
gang members.
Yeah, so they'll bring something in, and from there they can keep the money train flowing because they're getting hooked up on the outside. They have to make sure the shot callers on the inside are getting
Yep.
the same treatment.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So anyway, so go ahead.
You've been there for a few months.
Yep. Yeah, been there for a few months, and then it starts getting a little hectic. And the shitty part about that prison is over time we start getting inmates that have been there for a lot of years, and then those guys get moved out. The guys that we've calmed down, they've aged a little bit. And we get all these young assholes in. So now tempers are rising. People have something to prove. They don't know who you are, so they don't give a fuck about who you are. They're just there to do whatever they need to do to get the respect within their unit, And so that starts happening. And fucking, more than, we'd have fights in the hallways, which would transpire. So we'd have to lock down that hallway. We're spraying the fuck out of them.
Wow.
During that time, I wasn't involved in it, but
Knives
I got
and shanks and shit. Or?
sometimes, like there was a video they showed us where there was a basketball game going on for inmates, and there was two gangs out there. They didn't know it, and they started stabbing the fuck out of each other, and so it was like a 3v3, and then it ended up becoming a 3v1, and the one guy was running down the hallway past staff with a knife in his hand openly,
shit.
but no one's looking at the knife. They're looking from where he's running from. So this guy could have potentially done
Wow.
major damage to staff members.
Right.
And you could see it in the video. You could see it out on his side on the CCTV. And so it just started getting real hectic because you have all these places culminating right here, and suddenly tempers start flaring. Yeah, so that started happening a lot of hallway fights, a lot of cellies going after it because sometimes we just had to move people. One memorable one, this was before anything violent ever happened to me. I was working segregation, and this guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was a shorter black dude, and he had a real hard-on for trying to hurt any CO that had any sort of interaction with him. Or he'd do that or throw, like urine or feces on you. Just anything to get under your skin.
Right.
And you're not allowed to retaliate, by the way. So,
urine and feces, you're not allowed to retaliate?
yeah, so if I'm walking past his door and for some reason his food tray slot, we call it a beanhole.
Right.
If his beanhole's open and he flicks a fucking turd on the back of my head, I can't turn around and spray him. Because it's not an active situation. Damage is already done. He's no longer focused on you. You just go take your shower. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And the thing is, they know this, so it's a tool they used often.
Sure.
And thank God I never got shit
I'd
on
start
me. by
feeding
the
them
way.
more cheese.
Start locking them up. Yeah. But so this guy, he'd already broken. I want to say it was he broke a female guard's wrist because she was going after his cuffs, and I want to say he brought her in. She wasn't keeping positive control of that cuff and held on to the other one, and he brought her in, and that metal hit her wrist. And so he was already going in a bad way. So he ended up in my area. At the time, I was working segregation pretty substantially. Like, that was my place. Every morning I knew pretty much where I was going to go. And he just started being a problem. And he started trying to do shit to me. I told my supervisor, who told the warden, and the warden did not like that shit at all because he'd already caused so much problems that he went up to him. And he basically said, either you leave here finishing your sentence or you leave here in a body bag. You choose. You get that choice. Let's pick.
And the warden said this.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it was the deputy warden.
Wow.
Yep. And,
A guy who could make that happen.
yeah.
Mug's the word.
Could edit this.
Yeah. And sure enough, I mean, he, and the thing is he found out. He was by himself in a cell because he wasn't good with cellies. And we also had another dude downstairs, gigantic black dude. He could have done so much in like MMA or like football,
Wow.
anything else. But for some reason, he decided to be a criminal. And he was also not supposed to have a cellie because he will kill his cellmate. He's in there for murder. He has told them, hey, if you put someone in here with me, I will kill them.
Huh.
So the call comes down, hey, take, his name was Chairs. That was his last name. Take Chairs and go put him with that other guy who's been giving everybody problems.
Oh shit.
So I call up and I say, and I tell him, I'm like, you
gasoline, meet fire.
yeah. And I tell him, I
Right?
was like, Chairs he's going to do something, right? And they're like, yeah. Okay.
Wow.
And
Wow.
So I made my concern voiced. At the time, I didn't really give a fuck because I was like, this dude's being an asshole anyway. And there you go.
Damn.
And so we're taking him up to that other guy's cell, and the other dude is now very aware of who's coming into his cell. This guy's made a name for himself.
Are both of them black guys?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That didn't matter.
No. Okay.
So when you're introducing someone new to a cell, both of them are going to be cuffed up. You want them
Right.
both to have equal advantage or
Sure.
disadvantage in that case. So at that time, we put chairs in.
Cuffs behind back or in front?
Cuffs behind.
Okay.
Yeah.
That didn't matter, though, because chairs jumped his cuffs as soon as we closed the door.
Oh, shit.
He is strangling this other dude who has his arms behind his back with his cuffs in the front. So his wrists are bleeding. He's pushing into this one dude. And the SOP, which is standard operating procedures for that, is we don't open a door without a camera. Because if we can't prove what happened, we can't do anything. We're like, oh, that's our job to show them the proof. And so I'm sitting there with my supervisor. This guy's getting choked out. I'm like, hey, we have to go. Like, this dude's dead if we don't do anything. And I told him, I was like, that was somebody else's call. Don't let that fall on you, because I know it's going to roll downhill and shit's going to land on me.
Right.
Like, let's not have that happen. He was like, we have to wait on the camera.
Wow.
And I told him, I was like, you either call for this door to get opened or I'm opening it. Because I have a radio, I could call my picket operator and have her pop that door. So we're before all this is even happening, we're dumping OC into this room. They're coughing, but he's still going after it, because all he has to do is just put his weight. That's it. He's not worried about breathing. He's just trying to kill this other dude.
Wow.
And sure enough, so we probably put 3 or 4 cans in this room, and then we finally get the okay to pop the door. We don't have a camera yet. Pop the door, instantly get his arms off of the other guy's neck. We're dragging the other dude out by his legs just to get him into some fresh air, because 1, he's being strangled. 2, the OC in the room is taking away the oxygen in the room.
Wow.
So he's getting choked without any chance for oxygen. He's just breathing in chemical.
Oh my god.
So this dude was like, he was in a bad way. He was going down Queer Street pretty quick. And so we get them separated, and then from there it's just, we're getting them out. Both of them were okay. Minor injuries on both sides, pretty much. But yeah, it started getting bad.
Was Chair an asshole after that?
No. It was actually weird. He kind of did he did like a little turn heel type deal. He started he told me he regretted what he had done, and he was gonna kill himself for that. That's what he told me. He was like, okay, yeah, I feel bad for what I've done.
Wow.
I'm gonna kill myself. I need you to call somebody. Wow. So I let my supervisor know. But and it's real heartless in there. So anything I say is going to sound insanely calloused, and that's because that's how it is. And I was told, hey, if he hasn't done anything to back up those claims, what do you want?
So do you think they say stuff like that to manipulate the system?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I've had that happen before. Yeah, I've had that happen before. I've had guys say they've swallowed blades, so that we have to pull them out, and then while they're back there, they start asking about their case manager and where's this guy at, who's so and so. I mean, they'll be real quiet or like fake a seizure, and then the second they get back there, they're chatty Cathy trying to figure everything out. So it's one of those things where you have to be calloused, because they know how to play that game too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And but he was serious about it. He started cutting himself right in front of me. It wasn't enough to warrant anything crazy.
What was he using to cut himself?
He had a very small blade. I don't know where he got it from. It almost looked like a glass almost.
Right.
But he started going like this, but it was really dull. So it was kind of funny, because he was like, look, I'm going to cut myself. And then nothing was happening. And I was just like, all right, dude, I already made the call. And essentially it was like, hey, I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. If anything happens, then I'll have to make the call. Just because I couldn't pull him out of there on my own accord. If I did, that'd be my ass.
Wow.
That's wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, and
The mental stress on not only them but you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
the decisions you're making.
Well, it takes away a lot of your humanity when you're in there. Because I mean, my whole goal is, if you told me you were in a bad way, I want to help. I want to get you whatever resources I can to help you.
That's your human side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then I have to have this very calloused, very cold thought side where I'm like, okay, I know what you're trying to do. You're mad because this just happened. You want to get out of here. You want to go get some better food. Go to the hospital.
Right.
And then you have to go that way. But I mean, I've had it happen. So he never successfully harmed himself enough to relegate taking him to any sort of medical facility.
Right.
But in a different segregation wing of the prison, there was this guy. His cellie somehow got his hands on some real bad meth, and he had done a lot of it. And so we feed these guys, but if they're in a bad way, we tell them, hey, we're not going to feed you until you cuff up. Because if he's high as hell, we can't just let that go. Because then what does that say about us? We're okay with you being high.
Right.
So we said, hey, unless your cellie cuffs up and comes out, there's no chow going into that room. Because we can't just give you your chow because you might give some to him and then we could just perpetuate this. You know what I mean? There's no consequences.
Sure.
So it's like day 3 or 4 of this dude not getting food because his cellie is higher than a kite.
Wow.
And at this point, I don't know why they didn't already. It's called a CERT team, actually. It's a corrections
CERT, yeah.
emergency response team.
Right.
I don't know why they didn't suit those guys up and go in there. Because the good cellie, he was very cooperative. He just wanted food. And he was getting really mad because he couldn't get
I'm
fed.
fucking hungry.
Yeah, I can't blame the guy. And the other dude was just tweaking out. He was talking to the wall. He was looking at us crazy. I want to know what he was on because that sounds like a fucking time. But yeah, so day 4 comes around and I'm working that block. And sure enough, he comes around. He's like, if I don't get no fucking food today, I will kill myself. And I was like, okay, let me see what I can do. Because I have a radio. I could go talk to my picket operator. I could see what's up. And I got told the same thing. Throw that guy in cuffs. Bring him out. If not, no food. That's that. There's no negotiation. That's just there's the way it's going to be, and that's it. And I go back to him, and he says, okay. And he takes this little thing out and just starts going to town.
Oh my God.
Blood coming out of it. And he's wiping it on because there's only that very small window, and he's wiping it on that. So now it's really hard to see inside because there's a decent sheen of blood. So now I have to call a code blue, which is a medical emergency. So now we're getting that all suited up. The CERT team shows up. We have to pop the bean. So we open up the bean
And
hole.
you're involved in this.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And keep in mind, this is like my 3rd or 4th month there.
Oh shit.
And being segregation, like I said, you're supposed to have like a couple years underneath you before you do anything like that.
Right.
So that all happens. And so I call the guys up. They respond pretty quickly when something like that happens, because if they die within our custody, that's a really bad thing for us. And so everyone shows up really quick. We're pepper spraying the room, just letting them have it. And then when we get in there, we get the other guy in cuffs, we get the other cellie in cuffs, and then we're making sure he didn't do that much damage. It was a squirter, so I think he did hit an artery, but it wasn't enough damage to where he was going to bleed out in a decent amount of time.
Right.
So they went and got him taken care of. I think he got some stitches, and I eventually saw him again, and he was still mad at me, but I was
Did
like,
he
all right,
eat?
dude.
Wow. Did he eat? Yeah. Did he eat?
Did he
That?
get food?
Yeah, I believe he got some food.
So after a day
Wow.
like this,
Yeah.
because you get to go home after the shift, right?
Yep.
You come home, wife, hey, how was
That was work.
Wow.
work?
Yeah, I mean, I had to.
Do you talk about it, or do you just keep it to
You work at
yourself?
work.
If something funny happened, I'd tell her about
Yeah.
it. Just because I'd be like, you won't believe what this guy said to me today.
Right.
Like, I can't even tell you how many gay black dudes hit on me while I worked at corrections.
Aw.
I cannot tell you. Yeah, it was a real ego booster. I'd be like, hey, honey, like, you got to up your game because I got some dudes talking some shit. Yeah.
backup plans? I got
Yeah.
backup plans.
Yeah, I was like, I know these guys. They're talking real good to me. But, I mean, for the most part, I didn't really let her know too much.
Yeah.
I didn't want her, because she was already worried about the fact, because,
Right.
I mean, the place has a really bad track record of people getting hurt, people getting killed.
What was the population of the
Of the prison?
How many inmates?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. It wasn't more than 10,000. I want to say it was
wow.
anywhere between
So it was
1,000 to 3.
Oh.
Okay.
1
Yeah.
to 3,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
you had 9 houses, so that those all house a certain number of
Got
inmates
you.
and such. But yeah, so I mean, it was one of those things where I didn't want to bring it home entirely, but it's
Right.
also
Yeah.
hard not to, because I mean, like that day I told you about where we had to separate these 2 guys. When you walk into a room that's been OC'd, everything's fucking OC. You walk in there and you breathe in it. You walk in there and the floor is slippery. So when we walked in, I ate shit immediately. And these 2 dudes are trying to kill each other, and I fucking step in, I fall on top of them. And then, you're trying to drag them out. But at this point, they're covered in OC. So anytime you make contact with them, OC's all over you. So, I mean, like, for example...
What does OC stand for?
OC, I could not tell you off
It's
the top of my
like a
head.
pepper spray.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a real strong
sucks.
pepper spray.
So what was your outlet? Like on the weekends when you're not working, your days off?
My son.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he was young enough, and I was still real jazzed about him. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, like let's see what this guy's up to.
Right.
I don't really have any like conventional vices. Like I'm not a real heavy drinker. Like I'll drink on
Yeah.
occasion,
Yeah.
such as this. And I guess now more than anything, it's nicotine. Like I vape a lot. I don't typically smoke tobacco. But at that time, no, I didn't really do too much to, offset that. Besides,
Yeah, but that
family.
could be, you can do like sports and stuff. But
Yeah, that wasn't
nothing
because at that point with me getting out, a lot of the friends that I had were different places.
Gotcha.
So as soon as I got out, it was like I was all by myself again.
Right.
Besides my family, of course, but yeah. But
What was the final straw where you said I can't fucking do this no more?
Yeah.
the final straw was, it was kind of a lot. It was a lot of days that were adding up and things that I saw start adding up. Like, for example, when you're working a house, you're supposed to have 2 people on it. You're supposed to have a picket and 2 rovers. So the picket operator is the guy who opens the doors for you. You radio to him. 2 rovers are people that they're partners and they walk around the house and they take care of everything. So you always have backup with you. That wasn't existent. I was working segregation, so in order to, by their policy, you had to have 2 people to escort a prisoner. So technically, I couldn't do anything by myself, but the expectation was all these guys need to go to the shower, all these guys need to go outside for rec. They get 1 hour of rec and they get 30 minutes for a shower. But if you're by yourself, that can't happen. I can't escort them around. And they wouldn't send anyone, but then I'd be getting complaints against me because I couldn't do anything for these guys. I'm there all day, but no one's got a shower, no one's gone outside.
Wow.
All I've done is give them chow, but at this time I'm getting death threats. They're throwing food at me. They're kicking their doors when I'm around. Like, even when I'm on, and you never got a break while you're there because we don't have the people to run breaks.
Wow.
So lunch is me stopping in between doing what I'm doing, going in, eating a little bit, and then running back out. Like, it was go every day. Like, when I was working segregation, I had a Fitbit. I was getting 30,000 steps a day working segregation.
Jeez.
Yeah, within a 12 to 16 hour period, I was hauling ass the entire time. There was never, like, the only time I got off was a bathroom break. But even then, if I'm the only guy on the house, I have to be back quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So quick shit.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was terrible.
Yep. And
But-
12-hour days.
Yeah.
So
It drains on you.
basically go home, have a little, few
Yeah,
hours
go
of
home.
fun,
My son's
crash
already
up.
asleep, so
Yeah.
I haven't seen him today. And then I wake up and it's right back to it and just the same thing over and over and over. So
Wow.
besides my superiors ignoring SOP, there was an incident that happened at the gang unit. And this was, I got jumped. So it wasn't great in that way. But it was my first time working House 2, which is our specific gang unit. And so in this house, there's Crips, Bloods, Sureños, white boys, and then there's like this own, like, it's kind of a mismatch in there. There's a lot of pedophiles
And you
in
keep
there.
them separated.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the big point. Because if you let a white supremacist in with the Crips, it's not going to go that way.
Oh, no.
And so that day didn't go too great for a couple reasons. For once, by the grace of God, we had more than enough people to work that house. We had 3 rovers and 1 picket guy, which is more than enough to do what you need to do. But at that point, my understanding was some real higher-ups within the Geo group were coming down, and they wanted them to take down their, like, makeshift curtains. Like, they'd rip up a pair of, like, boxers and hang them over the window so their cell would stay dark.
Sure.
Trash, all that. So we had to go to each pod in there and say, hey, take down your curtains, do this, do that, and I've never worked there, so they don't know who the fuck I am. So they immediately, there was
So you're the new guy with all the rules.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I was the new guy who was coming in being a super cop. That's what they like to say when you're being an asshole. And they were like, oh, so you want to show up being a fucking super cop? All right. And surprisingly enough, it didn't happen with the Bloods. I thought for sure we were going to get jumped by the Bloods because when we went in there, I was going door to door, being real polite. I was like, hey, can you guys take that down? You can put it right back up. I just need it to come down for an hour. Like, that was my goal because I'm not going to be there the whole time. This is what I was told to do. Just take it down, put it right back up. And it's real quiet. Like, people are keeping an eye on us. But then the boss comes out. He fucking kicks open his cell door. And he's like, who the fuck are you coming in here to tell? And then the whole pod surrounds us. It's me and a female officer.
Oh,
And
shit.
fucking, so I have my hand resting on my OC spray, which isn't going to do shit versus fucking 80 dudes. But, so my hand's resting there. These guys are trying to test my gangster, per se. They're like, why is your hand resting there? And I was like, because it's comfortable. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm worried about this.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was fucking startling because I'm like,
Wow.
oh, like, you got, like, we're free right now. Go for it. Like, there would be no resistance right now.
80 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
You're down. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's no, I'm not no fucking John Wick. Like, I'm not going to beat the fuck out of 80 guys. But
Right.
surprisingly, I don't know what compelled them to not do anything, but they just kind of eventually wandered off. They complied, and then we went about our day.
Wow.
And so when you're in working as a guard, inmates still get, medical appointments. They get optometrists. They get all sorts of stuff. So at one point throughout the day, we have to do like a med call. So we get a list of names. We get to look at what pod they're in, what cell they're in, and then we go in and we say, hey, for a med call, we need blah, 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 blah. And then they approach, you take them out, and they go to where they need to go. So I go into the, it's Alpha Pod, that's with the Crips. And we go in there, it's us, me and my two other fellow officers. And,
All 3 guys?
No, 2 guys and a female.
2 guys and a female. Okay.
And so we go in there, we make the call, and people are approaching us because we figure, hey, they're going to med call. So I'll kind of set it up. So if you're thinking about it, when we walk through the door, the other male officer, he went about 8 feet ahead of us, and then me and the female officer are kind of like in a defensive position. We're forming a triangle on the door so that we can protect that. And as soon as these guys are walking up, he gets hit instantly.
Wow.
They're on top of him quick. They're beating him. He actually gets beat.
2, 3 guys?
I saw 5.
5
3
guys?
guys. 3 guys were personally on me. Wow. But so he got hit by one guy. Then the other 2 jumped on him. He got beat out of the pod. The door was still open behind us, and he actually fell out. So he was out of the fight. Then at this point, it's me and the female officer. So I had just enough time to call for help. It's a 1078, which is inmate assault on staff. I had just enough time to call that out, and as soon as that last word left my lips, I got blindsided from the right. My radio's off in the shower.
Wow.
And I have 3 guys on top of me. I'm not doing nothing against 3 guys, so I'm just covering up the whole time. And the saving grace is actually that female officer. She had one of those big cans, like I told you, and she let loose with that, and that stuff goes far and it travels. So as soon as it hit me, because she had to spray me to get the guys, as soon as it hit me, I knew that I was good because I felt 2 dudes peel off, and there was a dude still standing in front of me. So I just picked him up and slammed him to the floor, got him on his stomach, and took him down from there.
Wow.
But yeah.
Fuck up.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Any damage?
Nothing substantial. I had a busted lip and like a slight black eye, but I had all my teeth. Thank God. That was the first thing I asked.
What about the first guy that went in that got?
He just had a bump on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually probably got the female officer, she got slammed because someone saw that she was going to start spraying, and she was taking out the whole pod with it. So they actually took her down too, but not before she was able to spray. So she was really the saving grace, because who knows what could have happened if that wasn't, the case.
That's fucked up.
Is there a lot of female workers there?
Yeah, matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually really surprising. And matter of fact, on that topic, I've really changed how I've thought about female officers.
Right.
Because when I first went in there, and I still hold a little bit of this for female servicewomen, I was like, this is a man's job. And no offense, but this is how I used to think, because now I've come to a new conclusion. I was like, how are they going to help me in a fist fight? How are they going to help me when 12 dudes are on top of me? But that's not their purpose. A lot of the time, if you have a really angry dude, another dude coming up to talk to him who's in a position of power isn't going to solve it.
I got 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah. And
women tend to
de-escalate. Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, sure enough, like if there was a situation where I was having a problem, they'd get a female lieutenant or a female sergeant come in, tell me to kick rocks, and sure enough, that dude would be cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like, they are the peacemakers.
Yeah.
And I will give them that now. Like that is, because for the longest time, like especially when that attack happened, I was like, well, thank God she did that, but she wasn't helping me fight anybody.
Right.
Because I was still pissed off. Right. Hurt ego going on. But yeah, after that, I was like, no, like they definitely have a purpose, and oftentimes they are used. They are tools to be used, and that's exactly what they're used for.
That's cool.
Fireworks are going off in the background in case everybody hears it.
Yeah, we're not gunshots.
It's not gunshots, it's fireworks.
When I was in high school, me and my friends we'd throw parties for money. We'd make parties.
Okay.
And we figured a couple things out. You can say you were having a 15 kegger or a 10 kegger. You really only have to have 2 kegs.
There you go.
Nobody's counting kegs.
No.
And we're charging $1 for girls, $2 for guys, and we'd fill up a backyard, and then but we would always have the girls working the gate, collecting the money,
right?
Because guys don't pick fights.
No.
They don't pick fights,
especially with a girl. Yeah.
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 So
is that the final straw? You're like,
that was a big part of it. I was still there for some time after that too,
Wow.
but it was a big part of it because I figured with that happening, especially to one of the more junior officers, there would be some sort of change because I had no business being in a gang unit. That's something you have to have years under you to even be there for. You have to have certain training. I had none of.
Wow.
And I figured there'd be some sort of change. And there was just nothing. Like, they didn't put me back on the gang unit, but sure enough, I saw dudes who had been in a class or two behind me going out there, and I was like, what is stopping that from happening to them?
So you went
Yeah.
home that night. After that,
Yep.
what were you thinking?
At the time, which I've spoken to him about,
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a hurt ego. Because, you know, when as a man, or
Right.
even in
Yeah.
your case, maybe you might think, oh, someone walks up to me, I know exactly how I'm going to handle myself. Maybe 3 guys walk up to me, take
Right.
down the first dude, beat the shit out of him, go move on to the second guy because
Right.
he's scared. No, there was none of that. Because once you get blindsided,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like that Mike Tyson quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right.
So instead of me trying to John Wick my way out of it, I was just like, I have to cover up because
Right.
if I get
Yeah.
knocked out and then I get stomped, I don't go home.
Right.
Or if I get, if I get taken captive, because that's something that's happened there
Right.
before.
No shit.
Yeah, matter of fact, the major overseeing everybody,
Right.
there was an officer that had been taken prisoner or hostage pretty much,
Wow.
and she went and subbed herself out. She said, hey, if you really want a prisoner, I'll step up, let him go. And I'll say she had fucking balls for that.
Right.
Fuck, that's
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
No shit. So, but when you went home that night, were you rethinking your job? Were you thinking,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what could have happened?
Yeah, well, because the whole
Versus what-
time.
Did you tell the wife?
Yeah, well, I had to. Yeah, because I didn't know what time I was gonna go home.
And
Or-
she said,
Wow.
she was real worried, but I had to just call because I called and I was very, this was hours after
Yeah.
everything had happened. I had already talking to multiple investigators on the record, DA, all that, and so I just called her real mellow, hey honey, how you doing? She's like, oh, I didn't expect to get a call from you on your lunch. And I was like, oh no, something happened. I'm okay, but I got jumped. And from there, she was worried because she didn't know if I was calling from a hospital bed.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
But thankfully, I was sitting shotgun in
What's her
someone's car.
name? What's your wife's name?
My wife's name is Alexis.
Alexis?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Alexis.
Yeah, she's a saint too. She's fantastic. But I mean, I just tried to come at it with as much like calmness as I could. I had to muster a lot of that because
Right.
at the time I was still pissed off.
Yeah.
I was like, how the fuck am I going to get beat up at my own job? I mean, I'm only getting paid this much.
And how far into the job were you at this point?
At this point, it had to be like 4 months.
Fuck.
4
Wow.
months.
How long did
Yeah.
you work there?
I worked there for about 5 months.
Wow. Okay.
So what happened in month number 5?
What was the
Yeah.
final straw? Yeah.
That was pretty much it.
Oh,
I just
wow.
was looking for an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
as much as I would like to say, fuck you, I'm out of here, I had to have something for my family.
Sure.
So I was
Yeah.
like, even if that takes me getting messed up again, like at least I know money's coming in,
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And so eventually that's when I knew I was interested in like mechanical stuff because even being in the military, that wasn't my job. But a lot of the times, if your vehicle's down, you're going to help put it back up.
Right.
Right.
So I was helping out mechanics, and I just like the fact that it all works the way it does. And if something's wrong, there's ways to find out how to fix it. It's not just fucking magic, I mean,
It's
there's a way to
called
troubleshoot it. Yeah, YouTube's pretty good.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, so I was just the whole time I was looking for an exit strategy. Because I knew that that was probably the best job opportunity I had besides going back to active duty, which wasn't an option because of the COVID vaccine at the time. It just was not in the cards.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, getting out of the military, you get your GI Bill, which means you get paid to go to school.
Right.
And I was like, I still have that in my sleeve. Like, what can I do with that? As I'd said before, my pile of rocks was dwindling at a significant pace where I wasn't too comfortable with it. So I knew that we had to go, we had to take away our own independence in order to gain it back eventually. So I looked into UTI because I've seen all the dumbass infomercials,
Right.
all the ads and stuff. And I saw that there was one in Rancho Cucamonga, California, which isn't too far from Colton, where I grew up and where
Right.
my wife's family still is. So at that point, her and I had a conversation. I said, hey, if we move back to California, which she wanted to do for family, and I wasn't too keen on it because I'm not too happy with California's laws, whether
Sure.
it be guns or just anything in that matter. And eventually we came to that compromise because I figured that was the best way to provide for my family going forward.
Yeah.
Nice.
Crazy.
So you went to UTI.
Yep.
Diesel program.
Yeah, diesel program. I mean, I feel like I learned a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm no expert by any means, but it gave me a good foundation. So
Gotcha.
anything I am jumping into, at least I've seen before.
Right.
You know.
And you had like one of the best instructors.
Yeah.
Right there. That goes on a resume.
There you
Yeah,
go.
By the way, UTI, Dave Birch instructor.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Graduate from late 80s, graduate from
Mid 80s.
mid
There you
80s.
go.
So we're,
Yeah.
we're graduates as well as we work there. So,
Yeah.
There you go.
you know,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Wow.
that's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. But yeah, it was a trip because it all happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Well,
So
that's-
there was more action in that prison than your time in the military.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The closest thing I could say that we ever came, there's two instances that come to my head. One time in Oklahoma, I don't have a time period in mind, but it's all flat land for the most part. Sometimes there's berms out there, so if
Right.
you're shooting, it hits something, doesn't travel further than it needs to. We were in the field doing our MOS qualification, so you have to get qualified to do
Right.
your job. And I heard a snap go over my head. I was like, what the fuck was that? And then there's a couple others. We're taking fire from a range that's down that way.
shit.
We almost got a blue on blue out of that. We had to call range control, who radioed them to say cease fire. Like, you're
What's
fine.
a blue
Wow.
on blue?
A blue on blue is like if let's say
Right.
we were in a combat situation and I shot another soldier by accident. That's a
Wow.
blue on blue.
Friendly
We
fire.
have fratricide.
Friendly fire.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wow.
yeah, we almost had one of those. And then the only one that came from an outside threat, like another actual country, when I was in Korea from 19 to 20, I want to say that's the year The Interview came out. If you guys are familiar with that movie, it's
No.
James
Oh,
Franco.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, they're making fun of Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
He said he was going to
Yeah.
have a Christmas present for us because of that movie. And sure enough, it was right around Christmas time. I want to say I watched a movie, not that movie, but one of the new Star Wars, the real bad ones that come out recently. I watched that in theaters, and I got back to the barracks room. I'm sending the wife a good night text. I'm getting down to sleep, and the go to war alarm goes off. And at this
shit.
point, with us being in South Korea, we're 13 miles from the DMZ. We're within
Wow.
striking range.
Oh, fuck.
And the go to war alarms go off. We all know what that means. Like, we've never heard them before, but when you hear them, you know what is happening. There's
Right.
no mistaking them. And so I send my wife a text. Hey, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what will happen. I love you. I'll talk to you when I get the chance.
That's gotta be suck for her too.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
emotional trauma you both are going through right
well,
now.
the really cool part about it, though, was in that regard at least, there's a 15-hour time difference. When I sent that, she's dead asleep.
Nice.
So I already had time to do damage control. I already sent the 3 other texts saying, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
good, all good, all good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, after I sent that text, I got in my full kit and full uniform. I was trying to get to where our weapons were because we're going to retaliate. If we're going to get fired upon, we're going to sure as hell try to do some damage back. So I'm walking down the stairs, and my NCO, who's a non-commissioned officer, he's basically my supervisor in the military. I'm walking past him, and he's just kind of breezily walking. Like, he's not really, like, running. Like, because I'm coming down the stairs with some heat. I think we're going to die, so I'm like, hey, let's go do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what do we do? Where are we going? Because I know where I'm heading. I'm going to the AHA, which is the ammo handling area. That's where all of our weapons are stored and everything. Or at least our vehicles, because with
Right.
rocket and missile artillery, that's where we have it all set up. The vehicles are all ready to roll. All we need to do is get the call, and we can shoot.
Wow.
So I was heading there to get ready for that. And he kind of has a smirk on his face. He says, go change. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, I don't know if this dude's cool with dying or like whatever's
Wow.
going on.
Yeah. Die with your best clothes on.
Yeah, pretty much. Which I mean, at the time, I was wearing my best shit. It was all that shit's expensive. So I was like, let's run it. So I go outside because I'm already hot. It's a little cooler outside. My LT's out there smoking like 3 cigarettes because he's stressed the fuck out. And that's not the guy you want to see smoking 3 cigarettes when I'm a private first class coming out in
Wow.
full kit, ready to go. And then we get the text from our superior saying, hey, it was a false alarm.
But still, the level of anxiety
Yeah.
and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
that's PTSD.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we one thing UTI did for us, I really appreciate, is we went through 2 training classes about PTSD. And they said even if they were in the combat zone but never saw combat,
Yep.
they're on alert
Yeah.
that whole time.
Yeah,
the
it's
level of
knowing that it's
anxiety.
possible.
Yeah, so
And-
that right there just.
Yeah, and I'll say that I've definitely I experienced some of that, especially when it's a sound that's I'm not native to. like especially working in a shop right now, we have VPI tanks, the vacuum pressure impregnation, so that we could put varnish in the coils for the electric motors.
Right.
And when I was first working there, I never knew that alarm went off, and I was doing something else, and that went off, and it got my attention in a hurry. And the same thing with if my wife's watching any show and then there's an alarm that goes off, it will get my attention.
So do you ever seek help, or do you ever think you need help, or?
I mean, besides that, like there's some stuff where like right now I'm working with the VA. I'm still trying to get my disability all taken care of. But I mean, for the most part, I'm okay. I have some physical bumps and bruises. Like my ankle isn't what it's supposed to be for
No
a
disrespect.
24.
I'm not worried about the physical. I'm worried about the mental. That's
Yeah.
the one.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
one where we lose you guys, and we
Yeah.
don't want something stupid to fucking
No.
happen. So.
And I appreciate all you do because you go to all these campuses and all these dealerships.
We try.
and
We
you-
try.
Well,
We,
you,
you know,
you do more than try. You
yeah.
do a lot.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you for
Well,
that.
it's us. We do it. Yeah.
Well,
so.
thank all of you for that.
Yeah.
Because I mean that means more than a lot.
Well, so what we appreciate the military is because you guys give us the ability to be who we are.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get military guys all the time like, well, I only did 4 years. No, you took 4 years of your life. If they said go fight, you were going to go fight.
Yeah.
Right.
So even if you never did, you were prepared to, And so that's what we've talked a lot about this. We so appreciate it because you guys give us the ability to be the assholes we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm taking
And,
advantage of that now.
Thank goodness.
But that's one thing going back to like, I only did 4 years. That was the mentality I had because when I was in Korea, I only had 2 years left on my contract.
Right.
And I was sitting there on CQ, which is control of quarters. You just basically hang out at the barracks all day and just make sure everyone's doing the right thing. And my NCO had been in Afghanistan. And he had seen a lot of stuff, done a lot of stuff.
Wow.
He had a lot of action time. And, he'd talk about it a little bit, but that's not something you pry about. you know?
Right.
Right.
And I had told him that I had wished I was in the same spot as him. Because me going in, put it like this, the main reason I went in, besides, just trying to get out of Colton, was the attack in San Bernardino.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Because
Oh,
that's home
yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's home for me.
Yeah.
And I had some real harsh feelings about that, and I wanted to get good. I wanted
Right.
to make even on that. I figured if I could at least get one, that makes up for one here, and then someone else, do the rest. And so I had mixed feelings about that because the whole time going in, I mean, every time you see a military show or movie,
Yeah.
it's never the guy sitting in the office or like sitting in the motor pool. They're always downrange doing something.
Yeah.
So that was my expectation. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to get done with training. I'm going to go to my unit. We're going to go to Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria or somewhere out in the sandbox and play. And that didn't happen. That just wasn't in the cards.
Good.
And I was looking
Yeah.
in retrospect,
retrospect,
absolutely good
Yeah.
because I now I don't even agree with us being over there.
Oh, I've never agreed with this being over there, and I think we make a lot of bad decisions. And unfortunately, young men like you have to
Yep.
live with the decisions that our government makes.
Well,
But-
we get caught in the propaganda.
Yeah.
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 And it's so sad that the level of people that lose their lives over propaganda.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
just it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And the sad part is, looks like we're moving towards it again.
yeah, I'm so
Wow.
scared
But there's a
about
lot
that.
of
Yeah.
a lot of crazy countries out there
Yeah.
they look at us and they'd love to take what we have
Yep.
away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So even if we're doing things that aren't really right or you agree with, you have to show strength, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I agree with that.
Yeah, because that's everybody's eyes are on that,
Yep.
Yep.
and they say, "Oh, these guys mean business; they can handle it." It influences their decision.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
thing I'm scared about though is that they're talking about bringing the draft back because no one's signing up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's actually kind of a misnomer. Regardless, when you turned 18, you get put in the
You have to sign up.
Yeah, you
The
have
selection,
to sign up.
selected
Selected service.
Yeah.
You have
but
to.
I remember signing up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's just automatic. So
Yeah.
the same thing's happening. It's just automatic now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why it made a bunch of headlines. It's 18 to 26, I believe.
18 to 26,
Yeah.
yep.
And then I want to say they're working on having women go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
18 to 26 for women
And
too.
I'll say one thing: if any country is willing to send their daughters, mothers, wives to the battlefield, that is a morally bankrupt country.
Because they're no disrespect to the men, because they need us to help create the baby, but they're the carriers of the life.
Yeah, well, they're the nurturers.
Yeah,
and I mean,
yeah.
regardless of whatever politics are going on nowadays,
Right.
I mean, there are these gender roles for a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
women are fantastic. My
100%.
wife and her being a mother to my son, I've never loved her more.
Yeah.
Seeing her interact with my kid, and just even
Nice.
even the grandmother, like seeing her interact with my kid, it's great because it's in them.
So
Yeah.
listen to your story, military, the jobs that you've had, but more importantly, the vision that you have, like the understanding that you need to have a plan, you need to do
Yeah.
that. How big of a role is your wife in that?
She's 50%.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, when I got married to her, I made this. At first, I went into it with kind of like I'm the man, you know what I mean? trying to big boss around.
But you need her, right?
Yeah.
You need
And
her.
then overseas, I was like, okay, because we were running into some issues. You know, it was real smart of me to get married and then leave for 9 months, so that was a great
Sure,
opportunity.
sure.
Yeah.
But my NCO at the time, him and his wife had actually had issues. They went to a marriage counselor, and we never went to a marriage counselor, but I kind of used his advice to patch up what I had going on. And sure enough, instead of me thinking like I'm gonna make the decisions you're gonna follow like a good woman,
Right.
I was like, okay, what's your input?
Yeah.
Let's compromise, because that's what marriage is. It's a compromise.
Right.
And I've been operating that way ever since. And I mean, we're 5 years now. You know, have
So
a
you
happy
know,
boy.
what I think I found from him is that he's never claims to be the smartest guy, but claims to listen to people that have
Right.
smart advice,
That's the way to do
and
it.
that makes you the smartest
In my
person.
experience, women sometimes are the wisest.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, you got to listen. I mean, they have some keen instincts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I mean, I was married. I know. I was married for 15 years, and
Okay.
you know, just going all that. It's, you know, you bounce ideas off your wife, and sometimes I see this whole thing, and she's like, "Well, think about
They
this.
find a hole.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that." And
Do you ever say like, "Shut up, I don't wanna"?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's really good because whenever you do that, I'm also married a Latina woman, so I get,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I get that death look, and I'm like, uh-oh, like I can't sleep tonight. I gotta watch
One
out.
eye open.
Yeah. But yeah, no, she's great. I mean,
That's cool.
us coming out here, this was all something I talked to her with. I don't want to make any rash decisions that affect her without bringing her in. 'cause
And I did.
Right.
How many times did I ask you? I mean, I asked you several times because I don't want to ask once, get a commitment, and then you
Yeah.
think about it and say, fuck, I can't.
Yeah.
So that's important to me, especially when we talk to military guys or even in the prison and the shit you went through. Do you want to share that? You know,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I asked several times, because we don't want anybody coming in here and walking away in a worse place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's honestly really good that I came, or when we met the same time we did, just because I had already had a lot of time to process all those events.
Right.
And none of it was fresh. It was all scabbed and scarred over.
Good.
So at that
Right.
point, I was able to reflect back with fresh eyes
Right.
and not any ego or, me putting a man into it. It was just like, hey, here's what happened. Here's why it happened. And here's what I did to not have that happen again.
Yeah.
yeah. The emotional part was kind of removed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was
So
able to
where-
look at
where are
it
you working
factually.
now? What are you doing now?
Right now, I work on industrial electric motors for a company called Sulzer EMS.
Okay.
I've been working there now for, I want to say, going on 8 months.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So,
So
I'm
the
looking
company
at
you
that.
work is a big company, small company.
It's a rather large company.
Yeah.
They're global. Yeah. The part that I work in is rather small compared to the other, because you also have Sulzer turbines, Sulzer pumps. But yeah, my little niche area is there's opportunity. It just has to be found. Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Don, I just want to say
David?
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank
thank
you for
you.
having me.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
all for having me.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you guys
Yeah.
listening.
I think we're gonna
And I
have to.
can't believe you're 24 years old.
I know.
Well, that's yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
24 years old.
Again, what really shocked me about him, and all due respect, is the first time I met him, he walked up and he goes like this,
Yeah.
shake my hand. He walked up and he was like this. And I'm like, I tried to knuckle him and he just left his hand up there. I'm like, well, I guess I'm shaking your fucking hand, you know.
That's just something I've always done.
And then I find out he's only 24, but he's got that mentality of a respectful young
Yeah.
man, you know. And I'm like, I appreciated that. So I think that's
Yeah.
where. And then military, you know, my heart's always open to military.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then his level of respect and his even though he's a smart ass, which I appreciate even more.
That comes with the territory.
That's,
Right,
the,
it
survival, that's
does.
the survival
It does.
mechanism right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
respectful, a respectful
Yeah.
smart ass, if that makes sense. And always did that, you know, the handshakes
Right.
and, you know, it's just like, okay, I got to talk. Then when we talked a little bit, I'm like, we got to fucking interview this kid, you know. Or young man, I apologize.
I'm
Young
okay
man.
with it. It's all good.
Kid,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I hope to just one day be a valuable kid. And
Right.
then people can try to underestimate me, and I'm like, look at all this shit, though, buddy.
Right,
Yeah,
Let's
right,
play
yeah.
the kid
I
card
think
right
you've
now.
already achieved that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Getting there. I got a ways to go,
Yeah.
but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I think you're on the right track. But we want to thank
Yeah.
you very much for this.
Yeah.
We'll probably have this released in about I don't know, a week or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell your wife thank you.
Yes.
I will. Well, she'll probably listen to this.
Yeah.
yeah,
You tell her thank you for Alexis, right?
Yes.
Alexis for allowing us to
yes,
torment you. I
thank
mean,
you.
talk to you. And you good? We
Cool.
good?
We're good.
We're good.
Well,
We're
thank
good.
you guys
All
for
right,
everything.
Thank you.
To the camera, peace.
Peace.
We're out.
All right.